All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and sticking around. It's always challenging to do the last panel of the day, but I'm so glad. I think I see a lot of faces here, so that's good. We might need to start tap dancing just to keep everyone going. All right, so before we start, I would like to ask each of our panelists to give a brief intro about you and what you do. So, Doruk.
Okay, thank you. My name is Doruk Mutlu. I'm the CEO of EVAM. EVAM is a scale-up that helps banks and telcos engage with their own customers. What we do is we help them capture the moments that matter and change the experiences of the customers so that we achieve the banks and telcos' goals.
You have me at moments that matter. Thank you. And Norman?
Hi, I'm Norman, and I'm not a tap dancer. I'm the group CFO of Marswijk Bank. That's a Dubai-based bank. We are in the UAE, but we also are internationally active, especially in the GCC region, and we're very active with digitalization and AI.
Thank you. And May?
Hi, May. I'm a managing partner at Anthemis. We're an early stage VC investor. We've got about 150 portfolio companies that we've invested in across 15 years. We're based both in London as well as New York, and we're in market now with an AI-focused fund specializing in high assurance, which we'll touch on a bit later.
Great, thank you. So I did promise we're going to try to keep this as lively as we can. So we'll start with the icebreaker question. I want to ask each of you, and I know what my answer is because I learned it from Norman, but what did you last do with your generative AI bot?
What did I last do with my generative AI bot? Well,
something that's PG-13.
I think I was preparing for this speech.
You used AI bot?
Just to double-check, cross-check it.
Okay.
No, it knows me. Come on. Over time, it knows me. I say, anything I'm missing here?
All right, all right.
I didn't use it to generate the talk, don't worry.
I don't judge. All right, Norman?
Yeah, I use AI a lot, professionally but also privately, and this was a private thing, so this time it was ChatGPT, and I use it for my private investors.
Okay.
Investments. I wanted to invest a little bit in some European stock, and I wanted to do some specific on some companies, and I think it is perfect for that.
Can we ask you for tips later?
Sorry?
We'll ask you for tips later.
Can I ask me tips later?
All right.
I'll ask you for some tips later.
And May, what about you?
So I'm going to do something fun. Like you, I use it for professional and for private. But in my own personal capacity, my daughter's 6. She's preparing for World Book Day. And we were just talking about what costume she was going to wear. And she wants to be a character out of Paw Patrol. She's got a helicopter costume. She needs to come up with a word. And she's come up with the word swooping. And so I typed into ChatGPT, make me a slogan in the colors, that's fun, and it printed me a really nice slogan. So we're going to use that on her costume. So it's just amazing what you can do. It literally took us like 10 seconds, and it was a really fun slogan.
That's so cool. Yesterday on the panel on Leaders Plus, someone was saying, actually, Yajek from Rabobank, he said he used the tool to basically help him get the insights from the library of books that he has at home. And it's so useful. It's like a knowledge base, if you will. And I learned it from Norman. I actually last used it to try to figure out why my plant was dying, and it's a bamboo. And it was not happy with me, so thank you for the tip. All right, so let's talk about our panel. I think we're supposed to go beyond the hype, so we'll try to stick with that. Based on conversations that you hear here, Norman, conversations in conferences in broad room, all the excitement, right, that people have with the technology and how we can use it in financial services. Looking at that, and then what you do at the bank, right, what you implement, what is the gap that you see, or is there a gap?
Well, there's also always a certain gap. I think we are now, or we should be, or companies and banks should very soon be over the phase where you see presentations, you have ideas. We are now in a phase where we should be implementing real-life cases. The first POCs or the actual cases should be delivered. And I think if you're there not yet, then I think you really have to speed up if you want to keep up with the pack. So I think we're changing that. There is always a gap between what's possible. You have regulations, you have what you can do, but now it's really also we as leaders we have to get our hands dirty. We have to lead our teams and whatever is necessary into the world of AI and get this implementation done. I think that is our mission.
Do you see the gap getting smaller and smaller? Are companies actually able to speed up with what they do and implement real technology within the bank, or?
Yeah, but it is with every project, every change, it takes time. It has a lot of things. You have to understand what you're doing. You have to have your plans. Very important, the people. So you have to also culture. It's very important to have the people on your side. Otherwise, they're all consciously or subconsciously holding you back with the speed of change. But it really should start happening, and the technology is there in all areas. So
The tech is there. May, I'm curious to hear from your perspective, because your fund, a lot of the LPs are large FIs, right? And so you get both sides. You get the excitement from the startups, and then you get, I don't want to say hesitation, but perhaps a little bit reservation, right, from the big banks that they're trying to pitch to. So where do you see some of the barriers that some of your portfolio companies are experiencing?
Yeah, we see a lot of the obvious patterns that emerge, typically around a very long sales cycle. So, onboarding, even if you've won the bank, that process to onboard can still kill a company because it takes so long. But even prior to that, just the approval process, sometimes with a bank, you need both a strategic business sponsor as well as the partnership sponsor. And for a startup, that approval process can be very unclear and can be very long, and the sponsor can change. And those are things that can really kill a startup, especially if it takes 12 to 18 months. The other thing is, these banks, these insurers, they all operate in regulated spaces. So there's a certain level of empathy. You can understand there is a hesitation to adoption because they're under regulatory scrutiny. So the startup has to ensure that they can understand the mindset and ensure that the product is fit for purpose to operate within a regulated industry. Those are the main barriers that we see. On the flip side, I think for the large financial institutions, like what you were saying, there is a wide spectrum where actually, some of the financial institutions, they're very forward-thinking, and that culture transcends from the top. And so if there's a culture that transcends from the top to adopt AI, then that can change a lot of the mindset. If there's someone at the top sponsoring it, forcing adoption, we do see with those institutions, there is a large amount of adoption and forward thinking. And I think, AI is here to stay. There's no question about it. The people who harness it to the best are the winners here in the space.
Is that your experience as well, Doruk?
Well, I think the intentions and the bank's motivation to increase AI is there, but a problem with a bank is that, like you said, it's a regulated institution, and it takes time for the processes to evolve to adapt to AI. I mean, we're all using AI in our personal lives, and when you start to change the processes, sometimes things that would be done by 3 people are now done by 1 person, but still there's everybody who's using AI. So the whole process needs to be rethought and adapted, and sometimes regulators come into play, and it hurts the speed of innovation. So as you said, as leaders, we try to show and blaze the trail of AI, but then it's difficult for the organization to follow because of all the checks and balances and the level of risk-taking in these organizations. So I think AI will be there no matter what, and we're just witnessing the beginning stages of this. But how it will be exactly used, let's say, in engaging customers or deciding if you're going to give a loan to someone or not, that really is a learning process. And if you're not dabbling in it right now, you're going to be left behind. So you have to be doing this, but I think we still have some way to move forward here.
What are some of the characteristics or traits, if you will, that you see some of the organizations that you guys partner with, that you see that they have what it takes to move it from pilot to production, move it a little bit more despite all of the barriers, if you will, that's there?
So right now, everybody is in love with an AI, like with the idea of an AI, where you just tell it something and it does it, and then you don't need to do anything. But I don't think it's ever, well, at least in 2026, and the speed of change is so fast that I can't say what will be in 5 years. But in 2026, you're not going to have an AI where you can just say it a few sentences and it will figure itself out. So people in banks that I've seen want to always double-check, cross-check, validate, have the two-stage approval before really being able to use it in production-related things. Now, if it's something internal, like let's say reviewing something, making a comment on something, summarizing an email, that's a separate story. But to use it in actually places where money is at stake, where you're talking to the customers, where you're in a regulated environment, how do we use this enterprise how do we use the AI in the enterprise context is, I think, the main question to be answered here.
What do you think, Norman? Agree, disagree?
Well, I think, especially in regulated companies, you have to be compliant, aware of regulation and everything, but it shouldn't hold us back. So I got a lot of, I see also a lot of scare around AI. And I got, Norman, yeah, but it can hallucinate. AI can hallucinate. I said, yes, but if you ask a question to a colleague, I don't even
Humans
always get the right answer. So whatever AI produces, you should, think, continue think. And I think there's also a fear factor, which is a little bit rational, but also maybe a little bit irrational. And we have to go beyond that. Yeah. And it doesn't mean, blindly follow it and all the things, but there are a lot of bears on the road where we as leaders have to say, is it the real bear which we should take care of, or is it like a phantom bear? And it is more the cultural aspect. And I was in a couple of weeks ago, I was in Bangalore, India, in our Center of Excellence, and there I was also having a talk with my seniors there about AI, and getting a consultant in, also looking what they're doing, and I'm saying, we're going to change how we work. So is fear, do I still have a job? So I told them a little story, there are a number of people who are like me from the 80s, 90s. I started work in the 90s, and that was the age of computers was just getting in, So I said, imagine yourself, you're this finance guy of 50, and you have always worked with pencil and paper, and you did your accounts, all these big things, and suddenly you have the computer and Excel. It was Lotus 123 then, and I was like, no, not for me, sorry. I like my paper, I like my pencil. Do you think this person would have a job at the end of the 90s? No, of course, Norman, no. So, I try to make so you can, with developments like this, you have a choice. You can resist, stay with the old things, and then probably become obsolete somewhere. I don't know how long. Or you can say, hey, I jump on the train, and and that's where and I think that's another topic we're talking about. How do we make sure people are rightly equipped for the world that is coming? And I think that's a bit of a duty of a leader, but it's also a duty of the people to invest in themselves.
I agree. I was in uni when Windows 3.x came out, showing my age. But you're absolutely right. Like, looking back, at that time, I remember we had, it was mostly Unix, and then Windows came, and we were doing all these things, and I'm like, so why do I need email for, right? Why do I need the World Wide Web? At that time, it was a lot about research. But now you're like, oh my God, I can't leave without my little computer with me. So the world has changed, and I think we do need to evolve with it. But I do wonder if part of that, and you hinted at it a little earlier, is culture, is humans, is people. So with that being said, I know that you have an initiative called Common AI, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Common AI is a partnership that we or it's a platform actually that we set up in partnership with a fantastic team in Cambridge. And at the heart of it, it's a new way of doing VC for us. So the platform has three main pillars. The first pillar is an engineering company that provides companies all of the essential AI tools that they might need to accelerate development. So tools like foundational IP, fractional CTO support, all of the things that a company might need, this augments their capability. The second pillar is Compute Co, which provides affordable GPU compute to companies. And essentially the way that we think about it is that, I mean, compute is a bit like a washing machine. You don't need to have your washing machine on all the time, but actually these vendors lock you in for really expensive pricing for something that you'll need at, a particular point in the day. So the idea behind it is that actually if we can provide affordable GP compute to all of our portfolio companies, then collectively through the aggregate demand, we can actually get better bulk discount pricing. But most importantly, they're not going to be locked into one vendor, and that allows a bit of democratization to get access to different suppliers. And then the third pillar is essentially on top of the foundational tools, compute, we, the VC, can provide them the capital and the venture building capability. So I think a lot of these tools are out there, but no one is providing that comprehensive one-stop shop, and that's how we're approaching providing this capability to a lot of these startups who are approaching the space at a massive disadvantage. And if we can augment their capability, almost like providing them an exoskeleton, then these small techs can operate like big techs. And that's how we approached it, but actually as we've been talking to investors to invest in the platform, a lot of SMEs, even large corporates, large financial institutions themselves are saying, hey, we're also approaching AI from a standing start, so we too need help, and we too need a peer network where we can share ideas. And I think it's super important for us to have something like this in UK, Europe, to make sure that we stay competitive globally.
Mhm. I love that because it is an important part, right, of supercharging the innovation ecosystem, of giving access to different groups and people to basically help them get to where they need to. Now, bring it back to the bank side. From your perspective, Norman, what about your perspective on supercharging your employees, or reskilling, if you will? Because we talk a lot about hiring AI natives to be part of the organization. I don't even know what that is. But what about existing people? How do we help them?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to have a sight on what capabilities do you need as workforce in the future, and it will be a different workforce. It probably won't be a pyramid as it is now. It's a different shape of organizational form what you need. It's a little bit of squeeze in the middle, so the whole use of Excel and everything will be less. However, what's very clear, there are certain skills, which is understanding data, understanding or being able to use AI, whatever, to code a little bit in certain things, to create these, for example, what we are creating is I call it a management reporting factory for all management reporting, digital and AI driven. So now it's more the Excel-based thing, they prepare the report. In the future, it will be more a team, an agile team, who prepares that report in an agile way. So it's tech people together with finance people who are working there together. But I also need the finance people to be tech savvy. So basically, if we're now hiring for people, also I don't want classical accountants only. I want them to have something with tech, and they don't have to be a techie, but there has to be some of it. And we're now having, within Marsrec in general, but I'm also specifying that for finance, having a kind of an AI academy to make sure we can up and reskill our current workforce to what we need in the future. And I think we are obliged that to our people as well.
Yeah, we do. So last but not least, from your perspective, right, so address it from the innovation ecosystem, from a bank perspective. What about you? From your perspective, Doruk, what more do we need to be done? What more needs to be done to bring people to a level playing field, if you will?
I think I second what you were saying about the upskilling of people and the organization shape changing. I think the analytical skills are going to be more important than ever. I'm not just talking about numbers, but explaining what you need in a structured way so that AI can process it better, and then you can instruct it better. So we're all becoming programmers, and we're all becoming people who need to explain things in a very clear, algorithmically structured way so that AI executes it the right way. I mean, when I look at people, right now we have a pyramid-shaped organization. When I look at the people at the bottom versus the middle versus the top, the instructions get progressively better as you move towards the top. So then the question becomes, how do you give the people at the bottom of the pyramid the experience to say the right things, and how do you make sure the people in the middle and the top don't become like the accountants of the 80s who refuse to give up the pen and paper, just to make sure that everybody is skilled up. This is on the organization side. The consumer side, that's a whole different story. How are they going to interact with us? What's going to happen with them? I think that's a whole different ballgame, which I don't think we have the time for in this panel, but I think it's something that we're really thinking about. How will the engagement change, and how does the organization need to respond to this change?
So is it too late to admit that I actually do love pen and paper? I do take notes.
I do too. I do too, but
Okay.
We'll
No,
see.
fair. It's fair. It's fair. All right. Before we close, I do have a question for you guys. Look forward. Yeah.
all right.
Let's say in 3 years, what would AI mean to a bank executive? Please don't tell me everything's going to be automated.
No.
No.
In one word, I would say it's amplifier. You know, it amplifies what you do. It amplifies how you think. It makes you 5x what you are. Now, if I'm using an amplifier and the person next to me is not, I'm just going to be heard a lot more, and I'm going to get a lot more done. So I think
Competition. All right. What about you, Norman?
Yeah, I like a bit the amplifier. It's with AI, it is as if
Wait, you guys are not supposed to agree with each other.
No, I disagree with you.
all right.
No, but it is like you have your personal 24/7 assistant always with you. And like I say, it is a change. So we will automate certain processes. That doesn't mean that necessarily there are less jobs in a company. Maybe you can do with less jobs in certain companies, but there will be other opportunities flowing up because the pace of everything goes faster. And especially the winning companies who can implement quickly are going to grow. So I expect in like 3 years that we are all more tech savvy, and it becomes much more clear who are the winners and the losers with the big AI companies, and probably also, you know, in the banks and other companies.
So if we all do things faster, does that mean we get more time to go on vacation? Does that mean we get more work to do?
Well, think of it, you know, in the past, in Europe, people used to work on Saturday.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen now, normally, so maybe 4-day work week, I don't know.
I don't know. I got told that I think we're supposed to do 5 or even 6 days a week. What about you, May? What do you think?
So partner is what comes to mind, leveraging really what you guys have just said. I mean, I use it all the time now. It augments my capability. I'd be hard-pressed not to go to ChatGPT to double-check what I say. And I think things like ChatGPT have really democratized access to AI. It's super user-friendly. For us, we use it in our day job. It allows us, I think, to have stronger conviction, quicker, faster, with a lot more depth and breadth, and really augments the day to free up resource to do more thinking, alleviates a lot of the grunt work. We see that being implemented in the form of AI agents. So it's there, it's freely available, it's augmenting our capability, it's already here and now. In 3 years' time, you know, it's going to be fully embedded. And I think people should just embrace it, you know. Yes, there is the regulatory overhang. Yes, we have to make sure it's deployed responsibly. And it's really important that we're conscious about that. And we have to make sure that it doesn't hallucinate. But those are the things I think we need to be embedding in our ways of working right now.
I do agree. I remember a year ago, a good friend of mine told me, he said, just because something is risky doesn't mean that you don't do it. Especially in this particular scenario, if you don't do it, if you don't like say, I'm just going to shut this out because it's too scary, guess what? all your competitors are using the technology, all the bad actors out there are using the technology, right? So we do need to try and figure out how to make it work and make it work within the guardrails that we have.
Exactly. Actually, one last bit of caution, I think, and this is a debate we were having internally, is does it make it actually too easy to do something? And actually, I think that's the one thing I would end in, is just having a little bit of friction, a little bit of thought to really just check the facts, because it's quite easy just to get sucked in to say, oh, that's truth. You know, and I think for people who've, you know, worked with a pen and paper, there has been that natural bit of friction. But with kids my age, you know, it's so native to them, and there has to be a little bit of muscle memory to always just check and not take things as gospel.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I think we're out of time. So appreciate all of you.